Hello and welcome to the Z Hut. Today I would like to show you some tips and tricks on how to keep cats, dogs, chickens, and other animals out of your mouse and rat traps. Now these tips and tricks will work with either your regular snap trap or the modified. There's some different variations of the snap trap, but these will also work with the glue traps. And for the most part, the glue traps for the mice are the ones you're probably going to want to use these tricks for, because a cat gets into one of them, or the dog, it sticks to them, and they are a pain to get off. Now, over the years, I've had to remove a mouse trap from the paw of a couple of cats. One time I had to remove a mouse trap off the tongue of my dog. Woke me up in the middle of the night. She decided to lick the mouse trap that was sitting in the corner, and oh, she made some bellowing noises, and took a minute or two to chase her down, but we got the trap off and she lived. But ever since that, I've tried coming up with different ways to keep the animals from getting into them. Now, especially I have chickens now, and if you have chickens, you got rats. And you got to be careful. A rat trap, if a chicken pecks on it, it's going to come down and it's going to kill the chicken. That's all there is to it. You'll go out and find a dead chicken in your rat trap. So, well, first off, I think what we'll do is we'll go over just a couple basic ones on how to keep dogs out of your traps. Then we'll go over some on how to keep cats out. And then finally at the end, we'll take a look. I've got 2 ways to keep chickens out that works the best. I'm sure there's other ways to do it, but these are the 2 best ways that I've found. So first off, for the dogs, you've got your trap, your mouse, rat. Now for a small dog, you're probably going to want to use like the cat techniques. This is more for a larger dog. But one of the simplest and easiest things you can do is put a basket over it. Now if this is out in like a pole barn or garage and you got a dirt floor, you could put a tent stake on each side to hold it down. Otherwise, it's in your garage or basement or bathroom, wherever. You could just put a weight on it, maybe a couple books, a brick, just something so the dog ain't going to easily move it and get into the trap. Now, there is still a possibility they'll stick their paw in there to try to drag the trap towards them because they can smell the bait on there. But more than likely, it'll set the trap off before it gets on your tongue. And a dog, it's going to hurt. It probably ain't going to break his paw, but he'll be able to pull it out and most likely be okay. That's the best idea for dogs. Now you can also use milk crate, but I have baskets. I also have milk crates. But just use your imagination. You just mainly want to keep them out of it and keep them from being able to move what you're using to keep them out of it. All right, well, let's move on to cats. Now cats like to get into everything. If you've got a cat, you know what I'm talking about. Easiest way I have found for your snap trap or glue trap to keep the cat out of it is a breakfast cereal box. And you're probably looking at me like, how's that going to work? Well, once I show you, you're going to be like, wow, that's a good idea. First, you take your empty cereal box. Now, if you're using a snap trap, make sure that your trap will be able to clear. Now, this one, it just barely will rub the box, but the box is flimsy enough, it's not going to keep the trap from going off. But with a glue trap, you can use almost any thickness of a box. And then on the closed end, the end that's sealed and still glued shut, just make a little hole. It's big enough for a mouse to get into. Now on the other side, you open it up. Now you bait your trap, set it, put it in just inside the box, then close the box up with the trap still on this end, and then just put a piece of duct tape or something across here so the cat can't paw at it and get it to come open. Now if your cat comes along and they get curious and he or she sticks his paw in there and starts pawing around, they're not going to be able to reach far enough to hit the trap. Now if they start batting the box around, most likely it'll go off before they're able to get their paw in there and get caught in it. If you were worried about it getting knocked around, just take like some double-faced tape or some hot glue and put it on a small piece of plywood Or just put the double-faced tape on the bottom and stick it right to your floor. And if you have carpet, that won't work. But if it's linoleum, vinyl, tile, wood floor, you could just do some double-faced tape. That's the best one for mice. Now, it might not look the greatest, but it does work. You could also use, just a regular cardboard box. Just make sure that it's big enough to where the cat can't stick its paw in there and get to the trap. That's the big thing. Now, another way is if you had a little plastic box. Now, this is a baby wipe container. It looks like a giant Lego block. Now, this you could take and you put your mouse trap in here. Let me get the trap back out of here. And you put it in there, just at the one end. And I would recommend maybe putting a drop or two of hot glue and sticking it in there. And the same thing, just cut a small hole on this side that a mouse is big enough to get in there. Now, this will keep your cat from licking the trap, but if he does decide to stick his paw in there, he might be able to hit it. But this one actually would probably work pretty good for small dogs as well as a larger dog. You put your trap in here. Now, if you don't have one exactly like this, you can get those cheap disposable Tupperware-like containers at your dollar store or grocery store. The ones meant to use a couple of times and then throw away. One of those would work as well. A big plastic tub. If you had an extra one laying around, that would definitely keep cat from being able to reach it or the dog being able to reach it. All right. Well, those are the best ways for in the house and garage for keeping your cat and dog out of your mouse trap. Now, I'm assuming you ain't going to have chickens in your house, although I'm sure there are some people out there that do. I've seen people have pigs in their house, those little miniature pet ones, but still, it's a pig in the house. But for chickens in the chicken coop, now, rats are going to be the biggest problem. The mice I don't have too big of a problem with out there because I do have an outdoor cat and he gets those. But unless you got one badass cat that's big, they ain't going to mess with a rat. A rat will turn around if a cat goes after it and start fighting back. And they can get pretty vicious. When I was younger, I raised rats, and on a few occasions, they'd start fighting in the cage, and one of them would end up on a mid-afternoon snack. Even though they had food, they're cannibals. But in the chicken coop, the first thing is if you had some larger box. Now, a container like this, of course, is going to be too small to put a rat trap in. It just ain't going to work. But something about this size, now this is metal, and what you would do, and it's got a lid, it's removable, is you'd put a hole on the one end, big enough for a rat to get into, put your rat trap on the other end, and probably hot glue gun it down in there so it's not going to be flopping around. Then, of course, set your trap, put your lid on. Now, if your lid doesn't have snaps or something that holds it shut, maybe take a piece of duct tape on each side, just so it isn't getting knocked open accidentally. Now, just make sure the container is big enough because chickens will stick their head in the stuff and peck around. My chicken coop door is about that far off the ground, and when I go walking out once in a while, I'll see one pecking its head underneath the door trying to get grass that's growing out there, or seeds or whatever it sees. So you want something that's big enough that the rat can get in there, get to the trap, but the chicken can't stick its head in there and get to it. Now, there is an easier option, and this is the one that I use. This is just in case you don't have the other option. But a 5-gallon bucket will work. The same principle as that, but you set it on its side. But I found an even better bucket. It's one of these Tidy Cat litter buckets. It's square, so it will sit on its side. What I do is about halfway in, I'll put a brick in there. So that way the chickens jump on it, they're not knocking it over and setting the trap off. Then in the back, I'll hot glue gun the trap in. Nice thing about this is you don't have to make a hole in the bucket. See, she's a little tough to get off. There we go. You just take and open that side up, tape it up, cut it off, whatever, just so it holds up. And I would probably put a piece of duct tape over each side, because the lid, if it is pulled on, it doesn't take too much, it will come off. That is just perfectly big enough for a rat to get in there, and the chicken ain't going to be able to. Now, if you have baby chicks running around the chicken coop, probably not going to want to use this, because they could get in there, and if they jump up on the trap, the glue trap, or the snap trap, it's going to go off, and that chick probably ain't going to survive. Most likely is not going to survive. But this is the best way to put your rat traps in your chicken coop. You could also use this for rat traps in like your basement or something, but I would then probably have this closed and make a smaller hole, because a smaller cat could probably easily finagle his way in there, especially a kitten. So you could use this in your house as well for mouse traps or rat traps. But then just keep it snapped shut and make a smaller hole that the rat or mouse can get into, that of course the cat can't. So, well, with that, I think we can wrap this video up. I know there's many other ways you could come up with doing this. Hopefully this gives you some ideas on what to do if you don't have these exact items. There's lots of different things you could use. So, well, I hope you found this information useful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out my other videos. I've got one on how to bait my mouse and rat traps to catch more. I got another one on how to bait a bucket trap, and I also got some on adding alarms to your mouse and rat traps so you know when they go off. So with that, thank you for joining us here at the Z Hut today. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you catch some mice and rats. See you here again.